as well. We are going to jump into Dust Towers, which is going to be another interesting map. There's a lot of different areas to drop and stuff as the Terran, but same goes for Protoss, and defending on this map can be really, really nice. We saw SOS play a really nice air style with Tempest and Carriers, and it really worked out. But let's see what they're both going to do here in game number 2 on Dust Towers. Game number 2 on Dusk Towers, down in the bottom left in the red, winning that last game. The Terran player, it is ByuN.
And his opponent to the top in blue, it is Stats. There he is.
Yeah, you're talking about Stats' curse of not leaving the round of 4. I'm sure he feels the pressure now to pass that or get as far as he possibly can in this tournament. Still looking, everybody's talked about it for a while. I feel like he was kind of, what's the word? Like people didn't recognize him as much as they should, and
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we were talking about this a lot actually, like last season of Pro League, where Stats was actually, like, I'd say probably top 5 in the winners record, and he had an insane record on KT, and everyone's like, well, Zest is the best, and I really like this, and whoa.
Whoa. I was reading the sign, and then I look up, and that's really scared me, actually.
Like, don't, I think it said, like, don't get rid of Terran. I didn't quite see it, but.
Don't want the Terrans to fall out of Star League here.
Don't knock the Terrans out, but, like, Terran is dead race, D-E-D.
Yeah. You can see by his mask.
Stats was not getting the recognition that players like Parting and Zest were getting for a very, very long time. Classic.
Rain back in the day.
Rain. And I think it's because a lot of people do value individual leagues over team leagues, and Stats' best performances did come from those best of ones. But towards the end of last year, his performances became more and more consistent. And you definitely cannot count this guy out. We're in a new expansion now. And I would say a lot of people do favor him over ByuN here.
The word I was looking for was underrated.
Yes, that's a good word.
There it is. Guys, I got it out of my brain and out onto the mic. This is actually going to be caught here. Wow, that's really big because you guys know he got the scout there last time with the Reaper on the Dark Shrine. So now he's going to have a lot less scouting information, and he's going for the same build here. So now he's going greedy once again, but he's not going to have quite the same information. So this can get kind of sticky here for ByuN.
Yeah, we also saw that shot of ByuN there in the camera where he looked a little bit annoyed by that mistake. He had the grin of, like, the grinning grimace where you're like, ugh.
Yeah, the embarrassed grin. It's like, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah. Well, it is going to be Oracle play to start things off, and with the greedy build ByuN has chosen here, it can be quite powerful. Obviously, versus such a small Marine count. ByuN did have one turret up by the time the DTs arrived, but this is going to hit a little bit faster than that. His eBay's on the way now. If he makes that same blind turret, it will definitely help him out. It's going to make this defense a lot easier.
Yeah, but we'll see where he does put that blind turret, if he wants to put 1 or 2 this time maybe. And if Stats is going to put pressure on the front here, it does look like only 3 Adepts at the front for now.
I actually love how little ByuN cares about those Adepts at the front. He's like, yeah, whatever, I'll just repair this. I know you're going to drop me. I know you're going to attack me with an Oracle. I don't care at all about 3 Adepts poking a depot. Yeah, whatever.
Well, now he sees it, and he's got to get these Marines back. Nice pull on the SCVs. This Oracle getting to work now on that missile turret, but it is going to be warded off, only getting 1 kill here on an SCV.
Well, Stats is taking it faster. Nexus, like before, adding a few extra gateways this time. He does not have a Twilight Council, so we'll see where he's going to go from here. There are 2 Oracles on the map ready to harass, but this play that we're seeing from ByuN here reminds me of Marine King 2011, 2012. This is solid. It's greedy as hell, but he knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows exactly what he needs to be afraid of. And these 3 Adepts at the front of his wall is not it. You know, he does ward them away a few times, but now he's got his defenses set up. He's not concerned.
Yeah, he's got one turret in the back here. Does have to be careful about the edges by the gas, so Stats able to pick up a couple more kills here. But as you were saying, if you can be greedy and get that third orbital up this fast, it's not really going to matter if you're only losing 1, 2, or even 3 SCVs here. You can easily catch up, and I feel like ByuN is one of the first Terrans to really play this kind of style in this matchup.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of other Terrans are just going to base and then kind of safely going to third. Not a lot of Terrans are trying to play as greedy as possible, you know, that Marine King style, and now this ByuN style that we're seeing here in this matchup.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to me to see what he can get away with now in this new expansion.
I'm actually terrified of the concept of a player like TY getting a hold of this style. Ooh, we're seeing plasma shields being upgraded first here. Set of armor.
Someone took a page out of SOS's book.
Yeah, I think he's going to go for some air Protoss here, man. He's getting a Void Ray already.
Yeah. Now,
this should be interesting.
Yeah, we saw the one Void Ray out of SOS. He used it to just block the drops from coming in one side, but can definitely be used in mass as well. I feel like I would like Tempest a little bit better, but he just have to get that 3 base and 4 base up, and for now having a Void Ray is definitely going to help in terms of being safe. But
yeah, I mean, he's also adding 3 photon cannons here. He knows the weakness of what he was at last game. Oh, nice scan here. He's going to see the cannons as well. I think that's going to let ByuN know it's time to move that 3rd CC out. He is moving it right now. He's going to have to deal with the stasis ward before he can actually plant that, but this is a really cool style we're seeing from both players like Evolve. This is very macro-esque. Not even macro-esque, it's just straight up macro. He even predicted that there would be a stasis ward there. This guy is on fire right now.
These guys know a lot about this. I feel like, I don't know, if I was more involved with the pro scene, I would know more about it, but like, just what SOS was saying in his interview even, where he's like, oh, on this map, you can just add a ton of cannons, and every single expansion that you get, just add like 5 cannons. It doesn't matter because they can never attack you. And then the Terran is just in this spot where it's like, well, I can't attack you. I guess we have to go to the super late game. And then so far, the Terrans just haven't figured out what the best late game army is.
Battlecruisers.
Against a super late. Yeah, I mean, it could be. We don't know yet. But against like that super late game Tempest, Carrier, Archon, Storm army.
This is actually a ton of resources. Stats just dumped into those High Templar. If they get caught in the middle of the map right now, this could be a huge mistake. Okay. Got the Adepts up at the front now to protect them. Remember there, I thought the Adepts were going to move out, and those 3 High Templar could have actually just been wiped here. It may still happen. His Storm is not ready, and he is going to go and target those down right now, Valdez. A huge arc of Terran Bio here.
And a bunch of Warpins coming in, and 2 overcharges used. But again, ByuN is trading very, very well. Maybe 3 cannons isn't enough. Yeah. But he is going to hold. But Stats, they're looking a little bit shaky, not paying attention to the fight for just a second, and loses 2 High Templar.
You know, that was definitely a good trade for ByuN, absolutely. I think a lot of people looking at this are going to say, well, ByuN is up 30 supply, but he's got weak bio. He doesn't have very many medevacs yet. His upgrades aren't that solid. And we have Storm on the map now, and Storm ignores upgrades. Storm doesn't care. You get a few good Storms, and that supply lead will just vanish in a matter of seconds, especially if you've got cannons up at the front. Those don't take up supply, obviously, and that's part of what he's got here for the defense. But I do like Stats' position here quite a bit. He's going to even sneak 2 Adepts now into that 3rd base, and he's got a Warp Prism headed for the natural.
This is going to take so much pressure off of Stats here. But ByuN, it doesn't seem like he cares. He wants to go for the attack, but as you were saying, that's a lot of High Templar with a lot of energy there for Storms, and he does have to deal with these drops first.
Yeah, and this is exactly why SOS is saying the Terran can never attack on this map, because you are going to get punished. It's a huge rush distance, first of all, and second of all, there's a ton of airspace behind the base for Warp Prisms to lurk around. We do have that fleet beacon for the Tempest you were talking about on the way now, and the 2nd Stargate coming up, and just now is ByuN completing his Ghost Academy to deal with the High Templar, but the air transition is underway. We do see a scan goes down, will reveal the fleet beacon, and I'm wondering how ByuN is going to tackle this problem.
Oh, wow, he scans the gold here. I think he's seen this a couple times before, Wolf, if I would say myself.
Oh, ByuN going to lose a full medevac full of units. The 2nd one does get kept alive here, but that's exactly what that Void Ray is for.
Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like it's okay, you know, like, even if he does lose that 1 medevac, the most important thing here is keeping the Protoss off of 4 bases. And we'll see if he can shut down the other 4th base here. That one is going to be a lot easier to hold. Of course, the other one was a gold. and it was hidden, but it was scouted out here.
Now, I've watched most of the Pro League VODs. I want to ask you, though, just in case I missed it, we have not yet seen a Stasis Ward comboed into a Psystorm, have we?
I don't believe so.
I want to see that.
Not from what I've casted. That would be really interesting.
Imagine you time the Psystorm perfectly with the Stasis warding off here. That would be really cool. Again, a huge arc of Bio right now. 20 supply up in Army is ByuN. Really eating those storms, though. He cannot be absorbing this much damage. He needs to split away.
So many storms being used here. Now the Stasis Ward making half of ByuN's army obsolete. He does have to back off now.
A few ghosts defending the Adept drop here, but watch as the supply difference drops massively in these next few moments for ByuN, as he's now actually behind in supply. That High Templar tech is exactly what I was talking about. It doesn't matter if you're down 50 supply, you get a few good storms at defensive position, you just win the game a lot of the time, and ByuN is falling to pieces right now.
Yeah, he didn't even notice or even stem or try to micro those units at all. It looks like he was dealing with stuff back at his own base. You can see that ByuN right now, he really wants to end this game. He's got that fourth base up now, but like he does not want to let the Protoss get up to that massive death ball once again.
There are quite a few ghosts in this army, and he does have decent upgrades here. I'm actually going to go ahead and EMP those Oracles, an interesting choice. Well, this Bio army is just not big enough versus 8 High Templar worth of storms. That could be potentially up to 16 storms. Okay, think about that.
Yeah.
And he has not been splitting this game, so I'm not really impressed. I'm not confident for him engaging with this mostly Marine army here.
Let's see what he can go for here. He's running in with the Ghost. Gonna fight against a bunch of these cannons, but not EMPing the High Templar in the back. Look at where Stats has his High Templar all the way at the top right. He knows he is very, very safe right now and does not have to risk getting those EMP'd.
He is starting Viking production here at this point in time, and he will eventually be able to kind of counter the air army. He's also getting upgrades as quickly as he can. The reason why, guys, that you get shield upgrades instead of the attack upgrades for the air is because, first of all, they're going to affect your ground units as well, and shields and armor for the air will, of course, be applied twice to Vikings, so it's really important. It actually does make those Tempests so much tankier, because a Viking shoots 2 rockets, so it gets applied twice.
Trading a bit with the Adepts here in the middle of the map.
Oh,
we do already have the carriers on the way. Here we go again.
Here we go, and this is starting to look a little bit more like how we saw Protoss deal with late game mech, Terran, but this is not mech, this is bio. And I have to say, I think the position here for Stats is basically unbreakable. I think ByuN's best shot, to be honest, is to try to make a bigger transition and try to take more of the map. Instead of just sticking on 4 bases, he has total control. Like, Stats' only weak point is moving out. So, use that against him.
Yeah, it does seem like he's, as I said before, he's seen this before. I forget who the Terran was that played against SOS, but it seemed like he was a lot more confused. You know, and we do see him getting a massive ball of Vikings already. That's exactly what you need. Someone on Twitter tweeted at me, it was like, maybe you should add in some Ravens, would make the Tempest pretty much obsolete for a decent amount of time. Of course, they are very expensive, and I think you're right, maybe he needs to get a couple more bases before he does think about that. But it could be nice to have in your army if it's going to be a long time before the Protoss attacks you, which it will be, because essentially he's never going to attack until he slowly chips away at your army.
Yeah. The Graviton Catapult is on the way for Stats. Of course, a necessary upgrade, a +2 attack. He has +3 shields already. Might even want to consider investing in a second Cyber Core. I mean, all these shields and armors are going to be super duper powerful versus the Vikings in particular. But EMPs are powerful here too. You bathe those flying units in EMPs.
Bathe in the EMPs, we'll bathe them.
If you ask me, I'm going to say you probably want to bathe that Protoss army about twice a day in the EMPs if you want to fight it, okay? And after dinner once, just to be sure. I mean, this is going to be one of those games that essentially the entire game time is spent building armies for one massive fight. You better hope that in that fight you've got everything set up. There will be some poking, obviously, on both sides in the form of perhaps nuke harass, even drops, and Tempest eventually moving across the map, but this is going to be one of those fights. Here we go. EMP's coming down, hitting a lot of the Tempest. The Vikings safe so far from the back.
He needs to target those Vikings, though, cannot be hitting interceptors. Now he's standing in the storms, but he is beginning to shoot some of those Tempests down. But again, a lot of these Vikings are going down, and huge storms now on the mostly Marine army on the ground.
Oh yeah, this is not looking good for ByuN. It was an expensive trade, however, on both sides, and he does have a few ByuN units left on the ground. He's targeting down the expensive carriers, and the Tempest cannot deal with this fast enough, and he basically just wasted the storms on his Vikings, and then he's just going to use the Marines for cleanup. A pretty interesting idea, but both players losing massive chunks of their army. I have to say, the chunks of army stats lost, much more expensive, though.
Yeah, very expensive. Looking at the units now, he's got 3 Tempests and 2 Carriers, 2 Void Rays, 2 Archons. So definitely chipped down a lot from what he had before. And ByuN can definitely remake this army a lot faster. We may see a follow-up counterattack here in just a couple of minutes. He definitely doesn't want to let Stats get up to that mass ball once again. We do see Stats is making 3 carriers at a time now. He's going to stick on only 3 Tempests, so kind of an interesting idea as well.
Yeah, well, you know, the carriers are going to do better versus bio. I know it sounds weird to even like think about this concept, but I mean, Legacy of the Void's still new. People are figuring things out, but carriers DPS does a lot more to Marines than a Tempest can because it fires so slowly. So I guess that's the idea as you start to realize, wow, ByuN's, you know, sticking with the bio army on the ground more than the Vikings here. But we're going to have another engage, and this is just too many Marines. He's losing a lot of interceptors as well, so these carriers are basically neutered right now. Eating huge storms, wants to back off, does not actually end up killing that Nexus.
Oh, nice EMP down there. He's only got 1 storm left, wants to hit it. It's not the best storm. But again, there's not that much bio left over, but is it going to be enough? No, not with the Archons on the ground right now. Yeah, he's going to force ByuN to back off again.
Yeah. He was like trying to get that Void Ray super hard. I was concerned for him. Void Ray's never going to be worth it. A lot of harass going on meanwhile by Stats with Adepts. So he's keeping the SCV count pretty low, which is important. Obviously, if you look at the top right, the minerals are the limiting factor here for ByuN when he's going for this bio-heavy army. Whereas for Stats, it's minerals and gas he needs, and he does have it. Keeping that base alive was critical. If he lost this base here, it would have a lot harder of a time, and even still, he doesn't have his gases up and running. He's desperate for gas on those.
Yeah, we're finally seeing ByuN going for a drop here. One of the critical things that SOS went for is a guarding Void Ray, I'd say, from getting into the main. Does look like ByuN wants to drop behind the 4th here, maybe snipe some probes. So not going to be going for the production here, but it's going to deny a decent amount of mining here. Not bad. But if he would identify that there is essentially no protection for the production right now, that could be a nice drop point as well. I mean, when I look in there are 4 cannons, but if you go for like 2-3 medevacs, I know he's not making many Marauders right now, so maybe that's why. Definitely would be less effective at taking out those cannons, but...
Oh, I think you make a very valid point. You know, there's 2 ways... just like in Advanced Wars, man, there's 2 ways to win the game. One is to kill the whole army, one is to capture the HQ, and those Stargates in the base are the HQ. We're going to see another fight here. Big storm going down, hitting a lot of interceptors as well, but ByuN's army is looking pretty weak here. Well, where are the rest of the storms, though?
Yeah, everything got EMP'd, and now there's just a bunch of Marines trying to get on top of these very heavily upgraded air units, but can they even kill the ground units? He needs those Archons. Finally, some Archons popping out now. This is going to eventually push ByuN back.
ByuN, the problem with what ByuN is doing is he's always, like, he's trading a less expensive army for a more expensive army, but he doesn't have enough to finish the game, so this just keeps happening, but he's starting to lose the trades now. Like, he's losing a medevac here. He lost his whole bio, he didn't kill a Nexus, so now is the time where Stats is actually going to move out for the very first time. I feel like ByuN could have waited till he was maxed to do a fight like this. Factory comes over here just a bit too late to stop this Nexus.
So close, and... yeah, I mean, that was a pretty rough fight. I mean, all of his Vikings, he can barely produce the Vikings right now. It seems like he wants to get some medevacs back. That's also a limiting factor to dropping from what I was talking about before.
Yeah, for sure.
Now look at this. I mean, 4th base is being sieged. This is what this composition is all about. You get so many storms on the ground to deal with anything on the ground, and then you just have all these super powerful units that can just walk all over your bases, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, and there's another problem here is he doesn't have Ghosts, so Ghosts can blanket that. If there are no High Templar in this equation, ByuN just stims forward and kills all the air units again. You know, we've already seen this happen, but he doesn't have an answer for those 7 High Templar on the map right now. He does have 3 ghosts somewhere, but they're not with his army. He's not making anymore. Okay, there he is. He's got 5 on the way now. I was about to say, he needs those. No, he's just now reproducing them.
Remember what you were talking about before. ByuN could have essentially taken the whole map. Well, hold that thought. A nice little harass coming over here, going to snipe down a bunch of adepts and maybe get a bunch of these probes as well. If he can limit Stats' mining at the same time and draw this entire army back, that would be a pretty nice move here.
Yeah, you know, that was a perfect choice to actually kill those warping in instead of canceling the warp in with the pylon, because that's so expensive for Stats, and he just lost them all without accomplishing anything. He wants to get this Nexus. I don't think he can. It's going to cost him too much.
It's going to be really close. He's going to focus it down, and there it goes. And he loses all of the Marines and even the medevacs, but I mean, he gets the Nexus.
I don't know if it was worth it, you know? He still has quite a few Marines on the map. He lost mining at that satellite base. It's actually burning currently.
Look at ByuN making 5 Marines at a time. If the Stats moved across the map right now, there's nothing that ByuN could do to defend, and I think Stats may just do that right now.
Yeah, there's only 3 orbitals on the map. Think about that. That's actually a crazy thought. He didn't make many more orbitals. He doesn't make any more CCs, so it's not like, well, he's 15 workers out. He could drop mules. Like, I'm using the Caster 101 book. We talk about Terra. No, it's like not even like that in this game. He has 3 mules at a time he could drop, if even that.
He's trying to go for the stim in here. Tons of feedbacks actually going down on all the ghosts, and there goes your ghost energy. There's going to be no EMPs here, and now he's only got Marines. I doubt that's going to be enough to fight against this Protoss army.
Now, as the Korean Observer is pointing out, there's only 1 interceptor on the map. He's making them constantly, right? But they keep getting wiped out by these Marines, so the carriers aren't doing as much damage as they could. You know, one way that ByuN could win this game is just simply trying to base trade and outrun this army. I think that might be his best option here.
Yeah, it looks like what he's going to try to do. He definitely cannot fight this army now. And you were talking about 2 ways to win. Well, you know, this is your second way. You want to come in here, you want to kill all the buildings of the Protoss, but at the same time, I mean, Stats, what does he have back at home? It doesn't look like much, and he really doesn't have all that much mining either. And you look at his minerals and gas, he's got about 100. That's not going to be enough.
He's literally, like, using this, oh god, oh no, losing all his Marines, but he's literally using this turret as like a fallback point, so he's just whole positioning to kill interceptors. But I don't know if he can actually kill this. He just types GG out. I was going to say, there's no way he can kill the base fast enough. And if it comes to a base trade, he can't even fly and run away because it's an air army he's up against. So that just whittles him down eventually there. I feel like those fights we were seeing on the right side of the map were good for ByuN. He was doing good trades, but he just kept coming in too early without ghosts and lost too much of his army, and eventually Stats had too much.
Yeah, that was a really interesting game. The more I watch that map for PvT, it's like, people will say, oh, I can't kill this Protoss army, it's OP, you know, but I think it's more so the map. Like, that's the only map I feel like you can really do it on. You can defend on 3 bases so easily as the Protoss. You make 3 cannons, put up a bunch of pylons, you're going to be totally fine. And if you can get 3 bases and eventually get a 4th, you should be okay to slowly get up that that giant death ball of an army. We don't really have anyone that's figured it out just yet, but I'd be really curious to see how Terrans begin to solve this problem on this map against Protoss.
Yeah, I think step number 1 from like a basic outsider perspective, like myself as a broadcaster looking at the bird's eye view, the cheat sheet, is I think more rapid expansion and more production facilities. If he had more money and more barracks, then he could trade and have a next ready army available every time. He was floating his bases to the extra bases. He was going very, very slow. So, I mean, basically he just expanded too slowly and eventually ended up running out of steam there in the end.
Yeah, so guys, we're going to go to a quick 5-minute break. We'll be right back.